Hey, quick Covenant cleanup, PA.
Yeah.
I just got this from Paul Rovnak, media maven for the Gophers program.
Let me guess. Mike Nugent played 25 years in the NFL and made a field goal from 72 and had half a foot. Oh, wait, that's Tom Dempsey.
Well, no, I have Chip Lowmiller's team. Because I said, second round, Chip Lowmiller, 200 and some field goals. Maybe it wasn't worth it.
Yep.
He says totally worth it. In Super Bowl 26, he kicked 2 field goals late in the game, put the game out of reach for that Redskins victory. That season, he led the league in scoring with 149 points, more than the entire Indianapolis Colts team. Chip Lowmiller, Super Bowl champion, and worth it as a second-round pick.
Right, but that's an opinion. So, therefore, I don't qualify that as a Covenant cleanup, because if we start Covenant cleaning up opinions, actually, we probably should, because then that actually may be the elixir or what it takes to get us sponsored.
I always love that one.
Covenant cleanup provided by. But, there, when it comes to Covenant cleanups or L's taken today, it's a kicking vibe. I mean, Tottenham Hotspur in the first segment, Nugent for me in that last segment. And, I mean, there's gold in them there hills for whomever wants to jump in here with got a Covenant cleanup provided by Ben Leber joins 9 to noon. Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter. And 3 to 4:30 each and every weekday with Twin Cities Live on Channel 5. TCL, yeah, you know we. TCL, yeah, you know we. What was it like having young Maxwell Fuller on the show recently? And good morning.
And good morning. Max was great.
Yeah.
Max was great.
I wish I'd seen it. I'm sorry I didn't.
Well, you can always go back and just stream it, if you want. We have archives. I know that you're going to do that in your free time.
Yeah,
just
probably.
Go to TwinCitiesLive.com and hit the archives.
Yeah, after I do my do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do for a charity softball game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe you can do it on the way.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's a quick 8-minute segment.
8 with Max?
Yeah, I think the whole thing probably went
that's sweet.
7 or 8.
Yep. What did I and we miss until we stream it?
Well, you missed just quintessential Max Fuller with his high energy. He had some fun little quips and things that he was that he wanted to get out there, and I think that he clearly brings the knowledge. I mean, that's the whole reason we had him on, was to talk about the Timberwolves and what we need to do and fix and all this other stuff. Now, they did not listen to him. This was before the last game, so they did not listen to him. They did not, go back and watch Twin Cities Live and try to execute all the things that he was talking about. But, I think the nice thing that Max did was he didn't come in, at least onto our show, which I think he gets what our show is.
Yeah, no hooty hoo.
He did a hooty hoo at the very end.
Oh.
He didn't try to come in and be like Mr. X's and O's guy and talk over everybody's head and get really into the weeds on this technical jargon and all this other stuff. Yeah. He just kind of laid it out like it is, very black and white for everybody to understand and very easily digestible. So that I really appreciate. He did a really good job. It was very natural, and then he left, and the whole crew was like, "We got to have him back."
Yeah.
So
what? Because I know you follow. What do you think of the Timberwolves game tonight? It's a cool one, man.
I'm hopeful, but that hope is waning in a major way, because we've watched the last. It's not even the last 3 games; it's the last 2 games.
Yeah,
the last 2 games have been just utter embarrassments and disappointment. And look, I know that you're great friends with the whole coaching staff. And all this other stuff. Yeah. I mean, you guys,
but okay.
Well, you guys have a good relationship. I'll say you and the station.
Chris and I do
have a good relationship. It seems like with the whole coaching staff. And as much as that we have to applaud them when they do great things after the first 2 games, I thought everybody on the staff was going to get a head coaching job. It's like, all right, well, we're going to lose half the staff because we're going to just go ahead and sweep these Nuggets, and we're going to be playing out of our minds. And so I think,
even though I don't think it works that way in the NBA like the NFL.
I know, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying? It's
we got a defensive quality control guy here working with Cat and Rudy Gobert, Matt LaFleur. Yeah, we're probably going to lose him, because he's from the he's a limb on the Mike Malone tree, like Nori and Finch. But anyway.
Yeah, so we were going to start our own Chris Finch tree, and it was going to just start blossoming right away. I mean, that's how we were talking about the staff, the strategy, the players executing. And so for that, the juxtaposition of that is I think they deserve a lot of criticism. The lack of response that we've seen from the players.
Players got to make plays, Ben.
And the overall lack of strategy that it looks like that we are not adapting to what Denver's doing is concerning. And, we didn't see in the first two games guys running around the half court defensively, trying to figure out who they're guarding and where the guy is going.
Yeah.
There's too many guys with quick heads on swivels, arms in the air.
Human nature gets to win sometimes, Ben. You should know that. You're an athlete.
I get it, but I totally understand how it works too. With I know that our offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators in football will say like that wasn't the play. Like we called this play, and against this coverage, you're supposed to do this, and the guy didn't do that, so it makes me look like I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I understand all that, but the buck has to stop somewhere, and it seems like they have to find a way to take that super special coaching staff. And if all of we talked about this whole matchup before the matchup even started, how deep we are skill wise, how talented our bench is.
Yeah, you're preaching right now.
How
nicely.
talented our players are. So if you're going to say all of these great things about our talent on the court, then what seems to be failing right now is the execution going into the game off court.
Are you in any way just naturally, inherently, authentically, without forcing it, which a lot of people do with what I'm about to say, of the contrarian or conspiratorial variety? Because there are those who just are dead set. They'll look at something and like the majority of people are over here. So I haven't thought this out. I have to go the other way. They're just like contrarians. I can't even explain why, even though they don't completely believe it, but like conspiratorial. Do you have that to you or what?
I have it to me, but I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's the core me.
Right.
I'd like to think that maybe sometimes I come off contrarian because for the most part,
you're making people think.
I'm not necessarily fearful that you're not going to like my opinion.
Yeah, you're making, and it makes people think, and it starts conversation.
Sure.
Love it. Explain beautifully. Describe beautifully. Well, the reason I bring it up.
I was going to say, why do you bring that up?
Because of this. And you've watched all the Wolves games, right?
Every single one.
Okay, so game 2, when Mike Malone freaked out, remember, came out on the court screaming at the Mark Davis, the referee.
Yeah, the guy right in his face.
Yeah, and you remember that game, it was of the bloodbath variety, and the Nuggets left it being like, holy cow, there are like 19 fouls everybody in the world saw for whatever the reason they just didn't call. Well, that Davis staff, either 2 days later, had the Knicks and the Pacers. Bloodbath. Weird calls at the end, is super physical, and they move on. Well, the staff this evening is that Mark Davis staff at Target Center, and crazily, the Minnesota Timberwolves are favored by 2.5 points.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
So, from the same people who tell you, yeah, I understand the minus is this, but there are going to be more than 4.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and it's this to get this. The same people are telling you, we know what we've seen over 3. We know Conley is hobbled and might not play. We know, what symbolism and the imagery when the Wolves left the court after the most recent loss at Denver. I mean, most people turned it off, went to bed, and I was about to. But as they walked away, and Harlan, the Vox is like in a final score, you see Mike Conley, Karl Anthony Towns, and Chris Finch walking in single file. Well, there's Conley limping. There's Cat limping with his head down. There's Finch limping, working with his crutch, and his face, his countenance was that of chagrin. And it was just so symbolic of what we had seen the previous 3 games. It's what everybody had seen. Everybody, including like bookmakers and those who set lines, making the Timberwolves a 2.5 point favorite this evening. Metaphorical backs against the wall with the Mark Davis crew in town. So if you are of the if you are of the conspiratorial variety, Timberwolves are favored tonight. It's weird.
I do think that we're going to come back and win this game. I can't imagine that we're going to get beat 4 games in a row. to close out the whole season. So I don't think that. I think they're going to find that fight. They're going to find that inner dog in them. And
Game 7 would be
Game 7 will be just epic. The funny thing that you say about the refs, and I don't necessarily.
It's that crew from Game 2.
I do think that crews have a personality. We've talked about it when it comes to the football side. You know, Cleat Blakeman's crew might call this and all this, and they might emphasize these calls and whatever.
Remember that L we had in the Indianapolis game who let Stephon Gilmore basically decapitate Justin Jefferson?
Oh yeah,
I can't remember the guy's name. Trey Blake or something. Something like that.
I don't know all their names. But
Trey Blake was the Colts game, right?
Yeah, the Indianapolis game.
What a disaster that guy was.
That was an absolute L. But anyway.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. So I would say about a year ago, I was at this little small party, and one of the guys there was this is not NBA. He was I think he currently is a Division I basketball referee.
And how is Tony Correnti? I haven't talked to him in quite some time.
And we were watching a college basketball game, and we were talking about some of the very similar things, like how can you not call that? And oh my gosh, why they? It's like he's like, you guys don't understand that there is a game flow to how to call games.
Wow.
And we're like, what do you mean?
Right.
It was like sitting down with a referee oracle. We were watching the game. He's like, see how much time's left on the clock? Yeah. We haven't had a TV timeout in a while. Watch, they're going to call some ticky-tack call. And boom.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, and he's like, boom, there was the call. And it was like, what?
That's borderline fixing a game.
It was crazy town. So I'm not saying that this crew is conspiracy, but they definitely have their flavor. They have what they like to call and what not to call. Sometimes they call things more aggressively. They're going to let things go, whatever. They like the physical game, especially in playoffs.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. He did that 4 times.
Yeah.
And especially in the last 5 minutes of the game.
To get to the TV timeout.
He that was one example. There was a TV timeout. There was a TV timeout that needed to be called, and they could feel the flow of the game and how much time that they before they were like, oh, they probably need a timeout right here, and so they called a foul.
Yeah.
And then we get in the last 5 minutes, and he's like, you watch the cadence at which they call fouls, and it was spot on.
Unbelievable.
Spot on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really hope somebody from the NFL offices is listening to us now on Sirius XM Radio. Come on. Trey Blake and this staff are awful. And the mistakes they've made today are egregious. And if there's room in the USFL, the XFL, or the Arena League, please send them there post-haste. Wow. What? I mean, Trey Blake can't even work a mic. Seriously, I mean, this is embarrassing. What led Bursich to be so upset? I mean, I can't remember the individual moments that caused Pete Bursich to become so upset and say what he said right there. It might have been Stephon Gilmore attempting to decapitate Justin Jefferson. Ben Leber, Twin Cities Live, 3 to 6:30 on Channel 5. And with the NFL schedule release, the Jets got 6 primetime games. I couldn't care less if the Vikings get 0 or 16 primetime games. It's not a shoe size contest. Jets got 6 primetime games. I mean, is that okay?
Makes sense.
Why? How?
They made sense last year. I mean, they had a lot of attention last year.
Yeah.
It's the Aaron Rodgers effect.
Yeah,
he's
true.
Polarizing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams. Yeah, I understand that. Preseason for the Vikings, 2 on the road, 1 at home. How much McCarthy do you expect during these games with the right to change the opinion at minicamp, beginning of training camp, middle of training camp, end of training camp? 2 on the road, 1 at home for the old preseason. And probably the most we or anybody will hear or see J.J. McCarthy play for a little while, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think that he gets a fair amount of run in the preseason, but I think this situation would be different if we had Kirk Cousins. If we had Kirk Cousins on the team, or let's just say a quarterback that was on the team for the last couple of years, that was the starter.
I see.
Then that player doesn't get a lot of reps. Doesn't get a lot of preseason reps. Now JJ gets a ton. Because Sam Darnold's new as well. I mean, he's got to run this offense. He's new. He's got to get all the play calls and get familiar with this offense and the speed. So that being said, I think Sam will get a considerable amount of snaps in preseason. And then we'll see, let's just call it 50-50. And I think most likely, looking at the schedule, I wouldn't expect to see McCarthy all things being equal, no injuries, all that other stuff, I don't expect to see him until about December 1st.
I hope we don't see him the entire season. I mean, because if you don't see him the entire season, that means the other guy is.
No, that's great. I mean, I totally get that. But trying to be realistic about what we think this season's going to be, the opponents that we're facing, the reality is, Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. We're not expecting him. We're not expecting him to be Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But if he can be Nick Mullins without some of the interceptions, then we've really got something.
Well, and
right?
it's I'm not going to grandstand and be copyright common Barney the Purple Dinosaur here, but you, myself, and others have said it's if you take a Sam Darnold opinion off what you saw with the Jets and or the Carolina Panthers, and you postulate it so that it segues here exactly as that's lazy. Do you understand?
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean.
Right,
yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
So you agree with that?
Yeah.
Simply because of coaching and divisions and just the whole thing. So now it is fair to wonder what will be next here with Sam Darnold. So to go third overall in the draft, now maybe he shouldn't have gone third overall in the draft. Maybe he shouldn't have. But like, if you can just hearken or remember to 2018 or what you remember about Darnold, or, even when the team played the Jets or we were at Carolina and, they're getting that 2-point conversion late and then Kirk and KJ are walking off that game is what do you remember people liked about Darnold into the league? And then like after you watched him or followed him from afar, you're kind of like, okay, with these 1, 2, 3, 4 things, yeah, I get that.
So I'm not going to claim to be a deep diver in all things Sam Darnold in his game.
Yeah.
But what I remember of coming out of college was he was actually pretty athletic. I mean, he was a bigger guy that could move a little bit. Didn't expect him to be a big time runner. I thought that from what I've seen in those two places, Carolina and the Jets, I always looked at him as a game manager. I never looked at him as a big play, big arm, down the field, explosive passer. Mm-hmm. And not to say that he probably doesn't have a deep ball game, and maybe he could evolve a little bit into that, but I see him as sort of this game manager that's just going to make smart decisions. And that's
which is what is required here.
Yeah, to a point.
Yep.
I actually think that this offense is a little bit more. I think they want to be more explosive than let's say the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers.
But when I say manage the game, I mean like what Jordan Love did when he caught fire with LaFleur and what he did all 49ers game. I mean, if you watch that thing back specifically via the All-22 in key moments, Jordan Love was masterful following the LaFleur plan of 4 options. They're going to bite here. We'll take the 7 yards there to Tucker Kraft. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And then go to the next one. And then at the end, he went out of body, decided to go I, not buy, and he threw the whole thing away to Dre Greenlaw. No idea why he did it. That's what I mean is like when I think manage, it's you've done it all week. We know the situation.
Sure.
You know what's coming in. Follow the plan, bruh.
Yeah. Yes. That part of the game for sure is part of KOC's offense, at least the way I understand it. You have to do some of that. But I also think that he likes to be aggressive at times. He needs a quarterback that can really fit it in a really tight window, not just short term, but like you got to be down the field and like anticipate really well and like trust your accuracy and trust a bigger arm. You're coming off play action. We want to use play action to be explosive. We don't use play action to be dink and dunk. We use play action to be explosive. And so I think that all those things being said, that I would like to see more than just the game manager out of Sam Darnold.
Right.
I want him to flourish in this system. So that means that he's got to get the ball down the field. He's got to trust JJ at times to like win those 50-50 balls. Does he have that moxie and that confidence in him? I guess I don't know. It remains to be seen.
I don't either. But the reason I brought it up the way I did was because, like, I haven't seen him in OTAs, and I got some vocal maintenance days coming up, so I fully expect to get out there, check some things out, start formulating my own opinions. But with Darnold, the only intel that I do have, and one piece of it took place when you were there, but it was right off the radio. I think I've told you this. Is Aaron Jones joined us at the draft party at US Bank Stadium. So then we go to break, and we're walking up to the Vikes pick and everything, and I got to know Aaron a little bit when they did their introductory press conference and chat. I mean, when I say know a little bit, 4-minute conversation, whatever. And so I'm at the Wolves game the other night too. That was cool. But with Jones, after that, everybody's talking and stuff, and I asked him, what do you think of Sam Darnold? Now, I'll set this up predicated by the fact that offensive players watch defense. Okay, so I probably could ask him about Sauce Gardner, some safety,
Correct, yes.
and he could probably give me 5 minutes.
Right.
Ain't nobody going out of their way to watch Sam Darnold if you're an offensive player when he's playing for the Jets and he's playing for Carolina.
Right.
You agree with that?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so Jones was like, I had no idea he spun it the way he did. I mean, it's like I've never really watched him, and he can really spin it, is the way he put it. Now, like a football player saying he really can spin it, that's not just the tightness to the spiral. There's more to it, right? When they say that, like what? Accurate. What? Like if
I always think that arm strength.
Thank you.
When they say spin it, that means that they can they can really fling it down the field.
But here's the key here is like when I asked and he was signing something, snapped his head over and looked at me like, wow, I had no idea he could spin it like that. All right. So now let's fast forward to last Friday at Vikings rookie camp. And I'm watching off on the side with Jordan Addison. And Jordan Addison came out to watch the rookies for a little bit. So chatting about Caleb Williams and, just how good he was at USC and how good Jordan thinks he's going to be in the NFL. And he's starting to walk away. And I go, before you go, we were talking about the Wolves because he was at a Wolves game. And I said, before you leave, what have you seen so far from Darnold? Stops, head snaps, because again, ain't nobody watching Sam Darnold anywhere, an offensive player. Head snaps, looks at me. I had no idea how well he could spin it. We're going to be fine.
Oh my gosh.
So that's Addison and Jones. So that's why I'm building it up that way with I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit. There's a reason he must have gone 3. I ain't going to read all those reports and Lance Zierlein and all that kind of stuff from, no, I'm out. I'll call Chavis if I need that. But there are 2 key components to this offense who now, organically, without it being set up the way I want it to go, have stopped, looked at me, and said, I had no idea how well he could spin it. And they both kind of indicated we'll be fine. Yeah. So we'll see when old JJ hits the field. Some say hopefully sooner than later, and maybe that'll be the case, but we'll see. Nordup?
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Use the keyword green at KFAN.com. The keyword is green. You might win $1,000 at KFAN.com.
I mean, pick your poison with that defense.
9 to noon.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
Okay, calm down.
The Duke is on fire!
Oh, Alan, you are a nut job.
You think it's funny? With the Minnesota Vikings schedule, before we look at some other teams around the NFC North, Mr. Ben Leber, what were some of your quick, all right, 3-2. What were some of your quick Twitch reactions to the old schedule?
You know what I really loved? And maybe my older stupid brain just doesn't remember this. Did they always release the preseason schedule with the regular season schedule?
I don't think so. That surprised me.
Loved that.
Yeah. Why?
Well, because look, as a guy, like a lot of people out there with a family and kids, and that's summertime planning. It's end of season for all the baseball stuff. Like
Doc, Pontoon, Twitter.
Yeah, August is a time for
Sunday
a lot of
night dinners with LaPanta.
Yeah, a lot of Minnesotans where the kids' activities sort of slow down. Now the high school activities kind of ramp up a little bit, but there is that sweet spot of hey, when are we going to maximize some family time?
Yeah. Well, there's that life ruiner, the sweet spot. But anyway.
And So I was really appreciative that, like, okay, now I know my full schedule, because I don't know why they just like, nope, we're going to withhold the preseason schedule until a month after the schedule release. Like, why do that? Like, you already know it. Let's just like get on with this thing. So I did appreciate that. I was really happy to see the preseason schedule come out. Yeah. I'm really happy to see that first game is at home. I just kind of like to get the first game in the confines of our own building and all the other stuff, and then we hit the road for 2 games after that. As far as the regular season goes, I really don't see anything that's like concerning. Yes, I think every team can look at whether or not ESPN, NFL Network is going to put out the strength of schedule percentages or not. Every year is on its own. And yes, it is a little bit of a metric. They can say like, oh, they got an easy schedule, they got a hard schedule. I would say that we fall right in the middle. These could go a lot of different ways. Is it a tougher schedule? Sure. If we had Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't look at this schedule and be like, ooh, I don't know, man. I don't think we're going to win a lot of these games. I think it's all situational. The fact that we're breaking in a new quarterbacks, it makes it a little bit of a tougher schedule. That being said,
how about the fact that they play at U.S. Bank Stadium between September 23rd and November 2nd? They play there one time against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, November 3rd is the Colts game at home.
Yeah,
I took the low hanger to make it sound more dramatic.
Yeah, I was like,
but it's true. From those dates.
True. I mean, that's
a long time.
Yeah, so you look at the trends of the schedule, and after the bye week, two out of the 6 at home. So we have 4 road games after the bye week, and then we get into what we call, like, you know, after Thanksgiving is the most critical time for teams. Like, that is the final push. That's the most important games on your schedule for wins and losses. If you want to get into the playoffs, and you want to get into the playoffs feeling really good about yourself and building some momentum, those 6 games, 4 of those are at home. Only 2 road games to close out the season. So I don't know, man. Like, I know that we're not going to love, you know, you and I will probably openly bitch, you know, the week of Chicago on November 24th, like, a 3rd road game. Like, I'm just so tired of being on the road.
Yeah.
All that being said, that's the only stretch where I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. 3 road games in a row. After that, man, the schedule from a logistics standpoint, from a player standpoint, is awesome. I like a lot of the noon games. I know a lot of players don't like playing on primetime anyway, so we get to avoid all of that.
Yeah, I don't like night games. I'm glad that there aren't many.
Yeah, we don't have any hot or cold games. Like, nothing is going to be excessively hot. I mean, the Giants game to start the season might be a little warm, might be a little muggy, but that's just a typical summer. I mean, at least we're in that part of the country and not down in Florida. So I think for a lot of those things that maybe they don't matter, maybe they do matter from a player standpoint off a 17-game schedule, I think it looks pretty favorable.
What about the rest of the NFC North, or at least some of the highlights? Let's go to the NFC North schedule desk, and here is Eric Nordquist.
Hi there. We will roll with the Green Bay Packers. Their bye week isn't until week 10, but they kick off at home with a couple at home, I guess one's in Brazil. But they go down to Brazil to take on Philly to help open up the season now that a game is on every freaking day of the week, it feels like.
That's a hell of an international trip right there, Brazil.
Oh, Sao Paulo.
That'd be sweet. That'd be unbelievable.
How many people in the NFL are like, okay, Goodell and Jerry Jones, everyone gets together and they divvy up the globe, right? Yeah. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, I mean, the UK is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Germany ain't bad.
Why do the Packers get Brazil? Why do the Packers get South America?
Yeah.
But they start out in primetime on Friday, and then they host the Colts. Then they're at Cincy. Mm-hmm. They host the Vikings. They're at the Rams. See, where we have 3 away and 3 home, it's kind of every other for these guys.
Okay.
So they're at the Rams. And then these are all Sunday games, by the way, and no prime time other than the Eagles bit in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Hosting the Cardinals and Houston, and then week 8 they're at Jacksonville. Then before their bye, they host the Detroit Lions. So that's into the break. They have 2 late starts, a bunch of nooners in the Brazil bit.
Ooh.
Chill for a week. Then they're at Soldier Field November 17th.
Yeah.
Then they host. And I think that's Thanksgiving weekend. I'm not sure. But they host the Niners for a late start the 24th of November. Then they have a Thursday game with Miami, both of those at home, Niners and Dolphins, so they don't have to go down to either of those tough spots.
Mm-hmm.
At Detroit, at Seattle. This is a stretch of 4 primetime games in a row. They have the Sunday night game against Miami, Thursday against the Kitties, mini bye to a Sunday night game in Seattle, then Monday night the next week hosting New Orleans, and then they finish up at U.S. Bank Stadium, and then they host the Bears, divisions on the line, January 5th.
Rubber meets the road for them in beginning October 20th. All right, so you get C.J. Stroud and that super aggressive D'Amico Ryans bit at Lambeau Field. But then off that, you go to Jacksonville. Now, they should be better than Jacksonville, but it could be close.
They should be.
But then you got the warm weather, the humidity type thing down there. So whatever. But then you come home and you play the Lions. And quite honestly, I don't think they want anything to do with the Lions. Then you go to Soldier Field after that. This is not A-Rod's younger brother's Chicago Bears.
Yeah. They do get the bye week in between those two games.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about this? Okay, so they have the Niners at Lambeau for an afternoon game on November 24th.
That's a Tom Brady game, right?
That'll be a Tom Brady game, I would imagine. Niners, the fan has learned, can beat you up a little bit with that physical style of play, right? So then you come out of that game, and you get the speedy Dolphins the next week.
Yep.
When you're a little body sore.
On a Thursday.
A short week. Thank you. Then after that, you're at Detroit. I don't think they want much to do with the Lions. So that little 7-game patch right there, that's the definer for them. And I'm not saying they can't win them all. I'm not saying they won't win them all. I'm saying
that's a tough stretch.
Yeah. The stretches, it's like NFL schedules are, how does it begin? How does it end? And where are the meat grinders within? Because injuries will take care of themselves. What about who's next? Let's do one more.
Yeah, we'll do the Kitties, and we talked about in the open. The Bears, they might start 9-0. Who knows? But to the Kitties, 4 games before the bye, they're hosting Los Angeles. That looks like a Sunday night game. The Rams, NBC. Then they have a nooner against Tampa Bay, also at home.
Yeah.
Then they go down to handle Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. week 3 in Arizona for a late afternoon game.
That's going to be a tougher one for them than people think.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, they were really good a couple of years ago. Went there, either got beat or it was super close.
And then week 4, they come back home for a Monday night game against Seattle before they take the break. And PA, you mentioned earlier, it was like a 48-45 game. It was a meat grinder to the end, a score fest with the Seahawks last time they played. Out of the bye, week 6, 2 road games. They go down to Big D in Dallas and the Cowboys, and then they're at Minnesota for a nooner. So they come here to U.S. Bank Stadium as we are leaving our bye. I think that matters as part of that conversation. Week 7.
Agree.
And then week 8, you host the Tennessee Titans. Then the Kitties are on the road for 2. They go to Lambeau. Then they go to Houston Texans to figure out C.J. Stroud and company. And then to week 11, they host the Jaguars. Then week 12, they're at Indianapolis and the Colts. And then that's also a short week for them. Thursday. So that must be excuse me. Thursday must be Thanksgiving this year. Thursday the 28th. I don't know why I haven't picked up on that. The Kitties are hosting Chicago on Thanksgiving Day. That's the 11:30 bit. Mm-hmm. And then the week after,
the Lions are the Thanksgiving. Wow, I mean the Bears at Lions.
Kitties Bears
are the 11:30 a.m. sent. Wow, is that sweet?
That is a sweet game. Mini bye into week 14. They're hosting Lambeau, so it's 3 straight at home. Thanksgiving versus the Bears. Week later against Green Bay. Then they host Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Then Sunday the 22nd, they are at Soldier Field again to take on the Bears. And then a Monday night game, week 17, at the Niners. So you get to see that match up, and then they finish up hosting the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, Ben, lastly, because we're late and I know you have to go. If the Chicago Bears can win at Houston on Sunday Night Football, September 15th, I think that they might start 9-0. I mean, I don't know if you looked at this or not, but they host Tennessee at C.J. Stroud week 2. All right, that's going to be a toughie.
Yep.
At Indianapolis, they're all tough, but it's if they turn, I mean, at Indianapolis, then Rams at home, Carolina at home, Jacksonville and London. So forget the humidity piece. Jacksonville and London, off week, at Washington, at Arizona, and then New England at home, November 10th. Are you kidding me with this thing?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I'm like, you look at the strength of schedule. Come on, man. The Bears.
What are we doing up
the
in
Bears
here?
seem to have a really kind of a cupcake schedule.
Jeez.
And I get it. They're playing this. We're playing the same division. So I'm also talking about the teams that we're all playing. But, when you start off with the Titans, they should win that. It'll be a toss-up with the Texans. They have to go to Houston. I actually think they'll lose that game. Toss-up against the Colts when they go to the Colts. Mm-hmm. But then the Rams, they should probably win. That's at home. The Panthers, they should win. The Jaguars, they should win. Those are all at home. Going to Washington.
Kyler?
After the bye week when they're all rested and healed up.
Kyler out here throwing punts.
I mean, then the Patriots, like... Jeez.
I
mean, there's not a stretch here.
Right.
Well, they've got a stretch of... week 13 to 15, they're at Lions, at 49ers, at Vikings. Yeah. That'll be their toughest stretch.
And finally, week 14 for the Minnesota Vikings, December 8th, is a game at U.S. Bank Stadium against the Atlanta Falcons. Do you think those of the conspiratorial variety believe the schedule makers put the Falcons in Minneapolis that far into the season to wait for Michael Penix Jr. to get ready?
I always love that one.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Watch you on TV later.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Ben Leader. Ben Leader. All right, 3-2. Ben is our leader. He is Ben Leber. He'll be on Twin Cities Live on Channel 5, 3 to 4:30 today. Be right back.
Van.
Welcome back to 9 to Noon. News du Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. And I don't know if you had heard something earlier, but the racing season 2024 kicks off this weekend at Canterbury Park. So make sure you get to CanterburyPark.com. Find out racing days, family days, in-week racing. Of course, not only the chance to feast on pick 3s and 4s and 5s, oh my, but the ability to wager and watch on tracks throughout the country. I mean, it's super cool. And, of course, blackjack table games all year round, CanterburyPark.com. We'll start with the NBA. We're all patiently awaiting the Game 6 this evening. That's going to be at 7:30 p.m.-ish, the tip-off right here on your home for Wolves basketball, The Fan. And a couple of programming notes in the mix as well. Pre-game's going to start around 6:30 p.m. And then, again, tip-off shortly after 7:30. We know it. We talked about it earlier. You can check out Dane Moore's appearance from earlier in the show during the first hour, podcastable later on with the free iHeartRadio app. It's win or go home. Wolves still sweating the health of Mike Conley to see if he's going to be available. I believe officially he's been listed as questionable into tonight's game. So looking forward, hopefully, to get clarity. And, man, after the other night, you need Mike Conley in the mix tonight if you can have him. So watching for that. Elsewhere in the NBA, if the Wolves are to win tonight, then win on Sunday night, well, you're paying attention then to Dallas, who is now up 3-2 on OKC after last night's game. And Game 6, I believe, tomorrow is in Dallas.
The fortitude and tenacity of the stars, Doncic and Irving, and then the way they meshed Gafford and is it like it's likely or lively? Likely,
yeah.
The way they meshed those two together. Jason Kidd did terrific work. I mean, these we caught it and talked about it very little bit into the playoffs about Luka and Kyrie and agenda-free basketball. It's continuing. I mean, this squad is good, man. The Mavericks are good.
I'm glad you've been paying so much attention to that because it's been an issue in this series and the up and down nature of it. I've been watching it more from a distance, but Dallas with an opportunity to move on, and then they'll be awaiting. Maybe if the Wolves win tonight, they'll be awaiting to see a Game 7 for Nuggets and Wolves back in Denver on Sunday. The Celtics are going to be playing the waiting game now as well. They dispatched the Cavaliers. An interesting article coming out. We saw it the same after the Wolves swept the Suns. It was Frank Vogel getting fired, and Kevin Durant never really felt part of the offense, and he always kind of felt disjointed in the entire mix. Well, similarly, last night, everybody in the Cavs has been hurt throughout the series. Jarrett Allen has had trouble making the court. Donovan Mitchell has been out of the mix at times as well. And Donovan Mitchell now saying, well, his teammates, I was trying to get all the dogs together. I was trying to get everybody pumped up and in the mix and on the same page and one mission, one dream, one team. and they weren't listening. So that's kind of the story coming out of Cleveland as the Celtics handle business. They move on, and they, again, playing the waiting game, are waiting to see how Knicks-Pacers end up. And probably the only reason the Wolves game is at 7:30 tonight and not 9:30 is that the Knicks don't play tonight. Game 6 is tomorrow, and it's in Indy. The Knicks, as injured as they have been, no excuses from Tibbs' team, however. You got Isaiah Hartenstein throwing down on 12 offensive boards. Wish Rudy could do that. And Jalen Brunson's been otherworldly. I think he's just one short, Jalen Brunson is, of the tying the franchise record for 40-point games in a postseason, and he has a chance to tie it up tomorrow night. They are in Indy with the Knicks getting that chance to close out. Now to baseball, final couple of minutes of News du Nord brought to you by the Casino at Canterbury Park. Twins have lost 2 straight to the Yanks, and it hasn't been great. It's been a combined score 9-1, 5-1 the other day, 4-0 yesterday. Aaron Judge with a triple-decker yesterday at Target Field, and a few doubles to go along with that. So Aaron Judge driving the pace for the Yankees. Twins offense has disappeared the last 2 games. It's a nooner today in the finale. Joe Ryan's on the mound for the Twins. They're 2 back from the Guardians, who are their next opponent, actually. After they wrap things up, it's a getaway day. Maybe the Rally Sausage makes the trip, but no passport needed for said sausage. They're headed to the shores of Lake Erie to take on the Cleveland Guardians this weekend, which would be a chance then. Twins handle business. They could be on top of the AL Central by the time maybe we're doing a series winning montage on Monday for the Howl. I don't know. I'm still dreaming, but go Twins.
Yeah, I don't. Thanks for the help there, too, by the way. I don't, the Cleveland Guardians winning the American League Central, I mean, that wouldn't be a shocker if it ended up that way. They're plus 48 in the run differential, but their bullpen, it's unbelievable. I mean, some of these, at least for me, probably you, some of these no-name arms that they throw out there. So, like the Guardians, what are we now? 44 into it, winning record home and road. And the Twins run differentials plus 19. Break up the Kansas City Royals, by the way. I mean,
what's up with them?
Well, they're plus 45, and they're in second a game and a half out. But the Aaron Judge, I mean, if you're a Twins fan and you went to the game yesterday, whether you loathe the Yankees or not, have appreciation for HOF greatness. I mean, my man's just like Captain Cool, and granted, the Yankees beat the Twins pretty much every time, but like Judge is just cool, man. And I heard you talking about what he did yesterday. I mean, he just went into domination mode.
Yeah, one-man wrecking crew, and now hopefully Joe Ryan can stem the tide. Final thing for you here is if you are excited about the Howl and you're going to be listening to us on the free iHeartRadio app, Alan on the call, tip-off shortly after 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I must make a note, if you're on the east side of town or you just want to have a party, Halvey is going to be at Smash Park in Roseville for a KFAN Wolves watch party. Smash Park in Roseville. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Drink specials, prizes, and more. And hopefully you can be hanging out in Smash Park if you're unable to get into the game tonight. Although tickets have gone down in price.
I saw that. I saw some on Twitter yesterday, like some upper deck bits.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you're up there. Right. You're in like the 20th row and the corner.
You're in the shadows.
It's like $60, $70 a ticket, man. Those bad boys were like $400 and change a week ago. The con.
Yeah, correct. So get-in price has gone down significantly as Timberwolves fans' hopes and dreams have been deflated precipitously over the last couple of games. But with that said, don't mess around with all that in the parking. Just go to Smash Park in Roseville, park there, and hang out with Halvey as the Wolves, again, we're your home for the Howl, are looking for a victory to keep this party alive.
And speaking of parties, we will have a big one Saturday at Canterbury Park, providers of News du Nord. It's opening day of the 30th season of live racing in Canterbury, and it's also Preakness Stakes Day. It's going to be quite a bit of fun. On that, a couple of dear friends joining 9 to noon in studio around the corner. It's 11 o'clock at KFAN.